Hi, my name is Kyndall Dycus, and for this week's speech and our final speech of the semester, I would like to talk about social media's effect on people's self-images and self-esteem. Now, I'm mostly going to be focusing on teens and young adults through this speech because that's the statistics that I found more than adults and younger children, so please keep that in mind throughout the speech. How many times have you scrolled through social media and caught yourself thinking negatively about yourself or about something that you saw? How many times have you asked yourself, am I enough? Am I skinny enough? Is my house good enough? Man, I don't have what these people have. How do I compare? A lot of that is very, very common in today's society. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, the lifetime prevalence of any mental health disorder among adolescents is 49.5%. And that is quite a bit more than the generations that didn't necessarily have social media to turn to whenever they were looking for just something to do. So how do we keep ourselves satisfied with the negative influence of social media all around? Now, I am by no means a skinny girl, as you can tell, and I've never been, so it didn't bother me much when I joined social media and realized, man, none of the pretty girls on social media are over a size 2. Bigger girls have always been characterized as the funny friend, and it wasn't really until the past few years that we've really started to accept that bigger girls can be beautiful. And not to say that people didn't include them as beautiful, but if you look at Victoria's Secret models, if you look at, Instagram models, anything like that, usually they're very, very skinny women, and that gave a lot of girls the wrong idea of their body type, and if there were anything above that, they didn't consider themselves very pretty at all. So my main point that I want to start out with is everyone at this point has some kind of social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, or it goes on and on. In this day and age, one way or another, you've most likely been affected by social media. According to the PEW Research Center in an 2018 survey, YouTube is used by 85% of teens, Instagram is used by 72%, and Snapchat is used by 69%. Now, TikTok isn't in this list because TikTok is kind of a newer app, but I guarantee you 90-something% of teenagers have TikTok. It's very, very popular, and that's not always the best idea. So for some, it is a treat once in a while to go on social media and see what your friends are up to, what your family's doing, but for others, it can become an addiction. So when you're addicted, you might have to check social media, every 2 to 3 minutes just to satisfy that need of needing to know what's going on in the world that you might be missing out of. I personally tend to spend at least about an hour a day on TikTok, just if I'm honest. I'm trying to cut back, but it's difficult whenever it's so intriguing and when the algorithm is kind of for you, you kind of want to check it more and more often. So there's actually been a disorder that has been discovered through social media. It's called the social media anxiety disorder. And this was discovered through the ADAA. Yes. So the symptoms include stopping to check social media in the middle of conversations, spending 6+ hours on social media a day, having withdrawals from friends and family, lying about the amount of time that you spend on your social medias, failing in attempts to cut back on your social media, neglecting or losing interest in things that you were once interested in, experiencing severe nervousness, anxiety, or withdrawal symptoms when not able to check your social medias, and having an overwhelming desire to share on social media feeds, whether it's the food that you're eating or the place that you're at or where you're going or what you're doing or whatever. It's very, very hard for some people to resist posting that kind of stuff, and so that has become a recognized disorder, and social media has become a part of everyday conversation, and it happens in almost every conversation. I want you to, the next time that you have a conversation with someone, try to listen for, oh my gosh, did you see what she posted on social media? Did you see what he posted on TikTok? And you will really start to realize how much it's in everyday life. So let's talk a little bit about the science behind the addiction that comes with social media. The first thing is that people are generally less satisfied with their lives after they've been on social media for a while. They realize they don't have the newest and greatest of everything, and it kind of makes you look at your life a little bit differently. So how do we stay satisfied when we constantly have that feeling of falling behind? We don't have the newest iPhone, we don't have the newest tablet or TV or house or the dishwasher that unloads itself, and we don't have that newest and greatest. So we have to really kind of look at how do we stay satisfied. The second thing that we have to be careful of is we're looking at body image constantly. If you look on any social medias, you are looking at, some kind of beautiful person that is probably a very skinny person, and so you have to really be careful to watch how you look at your own body image after that. Self-deprivation or self-hatred is also another thing that is very, very common after a lot of social media use. You start to look at yourself a lot differently, and you start to just really ask yourself, like, am I good enough? Am I skinny enough? And that starts at a very young age. According to Columbia.edu, the average age to begin social media is 12 and a half years old. So it's become very young, which is very sad. So how do we know when enough is enough? For me, I ask myself this question a lot, and up until recently, iPhones haven't really had a setting to where you could add like timers on your apps or anything like that. So when they did start adding that, I kind of asked myself, like, man, should I, start implementing that into my life? And what I have found is when you care more about other people's opinions than your own, you should probably consider start cutting back. When you think, what do they see when they see my post? Do they see someone that's beautiful or someone that's ugly? You should probably start cutting back. When you start comparing yourself to them instead of comparing yourself to that person that you want to be, it's probably time to start kind of cutting back. When you become dependent on your socials for your own happiness and satisfaction, that's when you know it's time to either consider putting a timer on those apps to where you can only view that app for about 30 minutes to an hour a day, or however long works best for you, and knowing when to delete a social media. When it starts to completely overcome your life, maybe delete it for a week or two and see how you do without it, and you can always re-download it later if you need to. In conclusion, now that we've talked about the effects of social media and the science behind it and how to know when enough is enough, I hope this has helped you gain some kind of perspective on your own social media use. As you can see, I've added my daily screen time in the conclusion, and it's embarrassing to share, but I want to show like how much is used. And you can see over here, you can schedule time away from the screen, or you can set limits for apps. So I wanted to kind of show that so that you knew where to find it. So now that you've heard my speech, I want to ask you to do the same by going into your socials and looking and seeing, how much time do I spend on this app and this one, and consider setting timers and exchanging your screen time for reading